Afternoon, everybody. How are you all doing? Swinging my headphones as I go there. So I'm Alex Chisnell. Those of you who haven't joined us before here at the Festival of Enterprise, don't know why I'm shouting, but I've got Sabrina Stocker with me here today. Well, she's in London, I'm in Poole, in Dorset. Thank you for posting up. Carl, Henry, let us know where you all are today, guys. Looks like it's a beautiful day in the UK. I'm assuming London. Looking through your window at the back there, Sabrina's pretty
It's
nice.
nice in London. It's really nice in London.
Probably hotter than here, actually. It's always hotter in the city, isn't it? But cool. So those of you who weren't with us for part one of this, that epically failed when a thunder and lightning storm above my house in Poole knocked the whole system out. Claire's joining us from Wokingham. Trevor from glorious Plymouth, Carl in Stratford, Henry in Norwich in Norfolk. Yes, we got knocked out by thunder and lightning storm basically, and we couldn't get back in. We could do our next webinar, but we just couldn't get back into this one with me and Sabs for some strange reason. So if you are brand new, first time coming today, then talking about a bunch of different things really, aren't we? But the premise was, first of all, this is, I think we're now up to something crazy, like this is the 93rd live webinar we've done in the last 6 weeks.
Wow, that's quite impressive. That is
that's
something,
not bad, is it?
an achievement for isolation. You have to get to minimum 100 now. If you don't reach 100,
I know.
What was the point?
What was the point? I know. Content creation machine, which is all good, and it's just, again, what we're going to be talking about today, funnily enough, all about pivoting. Probably an overused word, but to be honest with you, I haven't met many people who've done it as successfully as Sabrina has managed to do at the moment. 3 million website visits in 30 days, am I right? Was that the one? I think it was.
Yes, you are. I'm just making sure. If you are watching, can you hear me okay? Because I'm getting a slight crackling through, and I want to see if it's me or Alex.
Okay. Don't blame me. Nothing to do with me.
I'll always try to blame Alex, but that's a little bit better. So hopefully, if that sounds fine to you guys.
It's fine with Carl.
Okay.
Blame on your headphones.
Amazing. Good.
All right. So we're going to be talking about that, for example, about pivoting the business. Also finding out what you've been up to, what's currently hot with you, what you're working on, which I might have a sneak preview.
Absolutely insane. The last month. The last month has been insane. Is the only word to describe it. We went from I came into the company on the 7th of April when we had about 3,000 page views, about 3,000 people, 3,000 page views a day, and now we're on about 3 million. So it's nice. It's insane. And out of that, obviously, that's just page views, but we've got 500,000 users. So it's good.
500,000 users, really?
Not paying users,
no,
but users of the site. Unique users. So it's it is really exciting.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I mean, you probably do because you read what the blurb was about to actually sign up for the webinar. And those of you who are watching on our social as well, I will just tell you. So essentially the problem, spending hours refreshing multiple websites for an online delivery slot during the pandemic. Solution, one website, one search. So shoppingslot.co.uk, co-founded by Sabrina, with the mission to revolutionise the online shopping industry, to allow the elderly, the vulnerable, and self-isolating the best opportunity to shop online. So, Shopping Slots was launched to find available delivery or click and collect slots. And as we just said, just to frame it, 500,000 users on the site, 3 million website visits in 30 days. That's pretty good. Anybody come up with any better stats than that? Let me know. Post them in the chat box. That's a pretty good way of driving traffic, if you ask me. It's what's it been like? So from beforehand, for those of you who probably most people on here know a little bit about your background with regards to My Tennis Events was your business. It's only now, I suppose, in the last week that people are being allowed, in inverted commas, to do things like play tennis. But those of us in the events business, like myself and yourself, still doesn't mean we can actually run a business in what used to be our business. So,
sure.
Tell us a little bit about what happened, maybe just to frame it, when you first heard about the coronavirus? How is your business operating? I guess you were coming up into like peak season, weren't you, really, for tennis?
Yeah, I mean, so I first found out about coronavirus. I was in India, and I just finished having a work trip out there because some of my team were based out there. So I was in this beautiful resort, and I was like, great, well, that's obviously going to come to the UK. And to be honest, I think I've taken it really well on a personal level, and I think that's reflected to what I've done business wise. Because for me, it's like, okay, there's nothing I can do to stop this virus spreading, apart from obviously what the government are advising us to do. But this personally, this is out of my control. But what is in my control is the way that I adapt to it, the way that I respond to it. So I thought, okay, let me start afresh. I'm not going to have any tennis tournaments for at least a few months. That means I've got no income coming in, and I, got quite a few expenses going out. So how exactly do I change that, and what can I do very quickly to change that? And with shopping slot, it came up as an opportunity, and
It's your keyboard. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can't hear both. We've been cursed again. You can hear me. Okay, so Jai can hear me. Maybe unplug. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah, Sabrina, can you hear me? It sounds like a rap. You're right, Mark. It is a bit of a rap. Okay, she's going to log out, log back in again. What is going on? That was a bit crazy. Okay, so bear with us. I'm going to invite Sabrina back in again. She might be able to log straight back in again herself. I'm just going to invite guests. In the meantime, guys, post up any questions. We will get Sabrina back. Trust me on this one. Clearly, Sabrina technology is not happening. She's accepted and connecting. Okay, I'm going to reprompt her anyway. Get her back on the webinar here with us all today. She's back in. Okay, we can't hear you. Okay, can't see or hear you, Sabs. I'm gonna re-invite her. Questions, post them up in the meantime, guys. Any questions that you're thinking? Got her on the phone. Hang on a sec. Hello. Don't worry. Can you log back out and log back in again? I've just got you. Let me. Yeah, people are saying they can see and hear me, but they can't see or hear you. So I'm just live on TV now. Okay, you log off, log back in again. Okay, I'm still live on screen here, so let me just invite. Invited a few seconds ago. I'm going to re-prompt you. Okay, is that what's going? That's why Sabrina got and. I'm just telling everybody here who's still on. Bear with us. Can you jump on your phone? Does that work? 30 seconds. Okay, bear with us. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for letting us know on here. You click the help button under live. Okay, I will let you log back in again. Can you do it on 4G? Okay. Sure. Okie dokie. See you in a minute. Bye. Okay, going to try and get Sabrina. Seems like it's this happens kind of like once a week. I found is that different internet service providers, bandwidth, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a technical expert myself, but she's trying to get on. She is trying to get on her internet. And she said everything's crashing, so bear with us, and she's going to try and come on a 4G. In the meantime, do post up any questions that you've got, and I can ask Sabs when she comes. Pop them up in the chat box here on the right-hand side is the easiest way to ask a question today. Hopefully she's going to ping straight back in again. She's going to try and jump on her phone. Can't believe we've been cursed twice. Once my end with a thunder and lightning storm, and now second time. We have done like 90 odd webinars now, and I think literally you could less than 5% of those have been affected technically. It just so happens both of them being with Sabs. So I'm hoping she can jump on any second now. I've got my phone here so we can keep in touch as well. I'm just going to switch screens here and check who's live, see if she's live as well.
Hello.
She's there.
I have no idea
nuts.
what happened. I am so sorry, everyone.
I know. All we could hear was like "and" repeatedly. It was literally like a rap, like one of the guys here said. It was crazy.
You were recording it before, right? So maybe you'll have that as a playback video.
We will. Yeah, absolutely. I was saying literally 90 odd webinars, and I think less than 5% of them have been affected technically, and 2 have been with you. So hey ho. So I'm going to plug these back in as well. Okay.
Right, I'm with you. I lost you. Headphones are off.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm all good.
Awesome. Okay, so Sabrina is back. Jules, Mark, everybody can see and hear again. Very good. Okay, we'll just edit this for the when we upload it to the YouTube channel, and nobody will ever know the difference, or the replay as well.
Amazing.
So yeah, you just said that you were in India when you found out about this, and it was, coming up towards tennis season. You normally be launching a whole bunch of live tennis events, in-person tennis events, I should say, all over the UK, I'm guessing. So what did you do next? You shut everything down, I'm assuming, mothballed everything?
So we, a lot of our guidance comes from the LTA, so the federation. So we work really closely with them. So the first thing for me was clear communication, right? That is the biggest thing that we currently need. And there was a massive lag in my video, but I'm going to keep talking. So the biggest thing for me was communication. So firstly, I thought, okay, who internally do I need to communicate with? And, I've got my right-hand man. He does all of my work for me. He completely runs the company now for me. So I was like, okay, I can't lose him. So made sure that he felt secure in his job. I then had to get in contact with all my venues, all of my customers, and just have a really clear step-by-step, because as long as something's clear and communicated well and early, it takes away a lot of issues down the line.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, I always remember that from my Virgin Atlantic days where I used to work, and I probably had every single emergency you could probably think of happen to me in like 16 years, from, engines being on fire to air rage passengers that we had to arrest and drop off in different countries. And I just found as long as you communicate with people are fine, as long as they've got time to process that information. If you literally don't tell them anything until it's actually happening, or you don't tell them anything, is the worst.
Exactly. Communication's the biggest breakdown of any relationships, whether that's in your personal life, whether that's in business. And providing that you can give a clear and understanding reason why you're doing something and explain the reasons behind why you're doing something, everyone's understanding.
They are absolutely. And so with yourself, when you did that, and you obviously did quite a lot of speaking events as well, which likewise has been affected, because you were meant to be speaking with me at Olympia a couple of weeks ago in London for the Festival of Enterprise, of course. So were you looking for opportunity, or did this come straight out of the blue with regards to shopping slots?
I would say I'm always open to opportunity, but I wasn't looking for it. So for me, I thought, okay, I can't speak at events. I've lost that income stream. I can't run my events. I also have lost that income stream. So what can I do? And I thought, well, why don't I develop and work on my personal brand? So I started going on Instagram lives twice a day, 10 a.m. and I think it was 8 p.m. I was mental health wise, finding it very, very hard because I think I've had the virus. I was isolating, nearly 2 weeks before everyone else. So this for me was like, okay, I'm completely on my own here. I wasn't prepared for it at all. And I thought, what can I do to keep myself occupied? So I did that. And from that, Jason got in contact and reached out to me. And at first, I ignored him because I get a lot of requests to start with people. And then it was a week later and I was like, oh my God, I need a shopping slot. Who was that person that had an idea about shopping slots?
Really?
So I had to go back to all my messages and it took me about half an hour, but I found Jason's one. So I wouldn't say I created the opportunities in the sense that I put myself out there, but then the kind of ongoing effects on that came to me because of what I did originally.
That's interesting, isn't it? I didn't realise that was the full story. So literally, again, just by putting it out there and keeping people thinking of you at the forefront of their minds, even though you weren't able to say generate revenue like you normally would with the usual businesses, opportunity came your way. So no, I like that phrase as well. It's being open to opportunity rather than actively seeking opportunities as well. I see that on some bit. Go on.
So I was going to say, if you're actively, it depends where you are as well within what you're doing. And I think if I didn't have anything going for me at the moment, I hadn't, for example, started my personal brand, or I hadn't, my business had come to a slow, it makes sense for me to actively try and find opportunities and outreach. But when you are working on something internally, that's when opportunities come to you. So it kind of depends where you are in your kind of entrepreneurship lifestyle, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And were you already connected to? You were already connected to him. He wasn't just yeah. So I say that's often when these opportunities present themselves. It's the same to me. It depends on your network and how much you've actively kind of grown. That is often massively helpful, I find as well. Okay, and what were next steps for you? Then just balancing up the opportunity and deciding whether this was the right or the wrong thing to do for you.
So I just had a gut feeling that it was the right thing for me to do. And when I say that, we had a phone call on the 7th, then and there. And by the end of the phone call, company's house was set up. We were ready to go. We had a marketing plan. We had a strategy plan. So I was like, let's do it. Let's get it started now. People need food on the tables. Let's not wait. So for me, that was a gut feeling of what I should be doing straight away. With other decisions, I have taken my time a little bit.
And what have been biggest learnings that you take away from this so far?
I actually haven't had time to process.
No, I believe you.
Because I have my internal coaching clients when I go into businesses and find out how they can make more money, how they can save money, etc. So I had that going on at the same time. I was trying to manage my personal brand, which I've taken down a little bit, but I'm going to start getting that back up. And then with shopping, so I was like, okay, well, we need the customer experience to be good. We need to get it out to press. And it's like everything is urgent. And when everything's urgent, it's really hard to prioritize. So we thought, okay, well, why don't we get it out to press as soon as we can? The first week was marketing, branding, making sure that was on point. The second week was about getting it into press. The third week was about firefighting because we'd made it too big too quickly. So we were constantly having to adapt. And I think that's about prioritizing what the different challenges is and what exactly the outcomes are going to be. And the opportunity costs of those are where you spend the time for.
Yeah. And what did you find the biggest challenge to start with? Was it literally just the demand that you couldn't have foreseen happening, and there was just the two of you working on it at the end of the day?
You know, it was insane. Like I got an email through yesterday, and it was something like complaining about the wrong kind of milk, and that's not the first time of kind of email I've had about that. So it's hard to manage expectations, because when customers are hungry, they're isolating, they're going through a very stressful time right now. They expect you to have 5-star service. They expect your website to be able to do everything. And when it doesn't do everything, it's like, okay, but there's two of us. We're not a massive company. So managing expectations has by far been the hardest thing. And customers are very understanding when you explain that to them. But ultimately, if they're hungry, then, you know, we're the ones getting everything for that.
Sounds like they're hangry as well as hungry.
100%. Well, not all of them.
No,
but,
not all of them.
The ones who couldn't get shopping slots to start with were definitely hangry.
Interesting, very interesting. And where do you think was the biggest source of that demand? Because those numbers are pretty crazy, especially for a startup to be able to drum up that much interest. And I know we chatted about this before, but remind me, when you were able to trace where that traffic was coming from, what was the kind of split? Because there was obviously like the PR promotion you were doing, and there's just organic traffic, I guess, as well, to a certain degree, and stuff that you're pushing to your personal channels, which is going to help as well.
Sure. So it's about the 15% of it was from social media, about 50% was from press or backlinks from blogs, etc. And then there's 35%, which was organic reach through Googling.
And how much work did you put into the PR publicity? Because I saw you had a ridiculous, literally from like Scotland to Cornwall, I think, and everywhere in between, that you had managed to get into mainstream press.
When I say that I 10x'd what I was doing, like 100% so, I was so extreme. I was like, okay, we're going to get this into freaking press. What can I do to happen? And I was getting up at 6 a.m. every day. I was getting to bed at 12 p.m. every day. I bought Ejaz off the tennis company because that wasn't doing anything. And I was like, okay, I need you. And we would go out, we would contact journalists on Twitter, LinkedIn, email, and we both had this massive list that we were just making and finding, and previous contacts that I'd already made as well from the Apprentice. So we spent so much time getting out as much as we could, and it took 3 days. To be fair, 3 days is very short in the scheme of things, but it took 3 days of two people doing 16-hour days to get the first article. And once we got the first article, it accelerated through. And the most frustrating thing was, that person that I got the first article with, despite the hundreds and hundreds of messages that I've got out, was an old friend who had a friend who worked in the metro.
No way.
It's gone there first. But
I was going to say,
what's going to get picked up. So you have to try all channels. For me, it just ended up being a personal friend.
Yeah, and that literally just snowballed, did it? Literally one got hold of it, the next got hold of it, and then a lot of those newspaper publications own quite a lot of the regional ones, don't they? And I guess that's how you
exactly. Like, we got into the nationals first, and we were like, okay, this is amazing. We were hitting, first day 40,000, second day 100,000. Then on the third day, we hit regional press, and we had like 150,000 on our website. And our website couldn't handle it. And that was a very stressful few hours when the website went down.
I remember the messages I got from that, yes.
I've messaged, so our the other co-founder, Jason, he was like, Sabrina, I don't know what to do. Like, this is above what I do usually.
Yeah.
And I sent out 50 messages to anyone who I thought could potentially help. And I was like, setting up all of these different things on it. I learned so much about tech so quickly, but it was about, okay, I have a problem. We don't have the skills and resources to be able to solve that problem. Who do I know who might know somebody who can, and that's actually what happened.
So incredible, like, learnings. You know, when you reflect back on this, you know, however long a time that might be, I bet you it's a hell of a learning curve. But, you know, lots of good, as well as, obviously, you know, it's always positive and negative, isn't there? But hopefully more positive. And where do you, kind of double-ended question for you, where do you see, like, goals wise, this taking you? And kind of sub question to that, what else are you working on at the moment?
Sure. So in terms of where Shopping Start is going to go, I don't really have a definitive answer for that. Now, in an ideal world, everyone will not have an issue getting shopping to their home, right? So kind of as soon as the world goes back to normal, which I want it to, our business becomes irrelevant. So I think it depends on, you know, there's a business here now, which is what we're doing at the moment. And then once that's finished, okay, what assets have we created from that business, and how can we transform that into a different kind of business? Right now, I'm thinking very short term, just because of time. But, you know, thinking of how I'm going to adapt is playing on the other side of my mind. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one as well. And I was listening to a podcast actually this morning, and I can't remember who said it. That's really bad. Who was on my podcast this morning that I was listening to? Anyway,
No.
they were saying.
Clearly not.
Sorry, Alex. Sorry. Not that one. They were talking about how a lot of businesses that are starting up are going to be more efficient than charities, because let's say that a charity had a company right now which was delivering food to the elderly. Well, actually, if they're not built as a business, which is to maintain themselves, to be sustainable, then actually that's never ever going to work well. Whereas if you can create socially responsible corporate companies, that means that you're solving that social need, you're doing it in an efficient way, and also it's sustainable long term. So anyone who, you know, is thinking of starting a business right now in particular, how can you make sure that whatever you're doing is sustainable, so that, you know, you're not going to put yourself into debt? And if we hadn't have charged, it used to be $2.19, now it's $3.99. If we didn't charge that, me and Jason were going to be in like 20k of debt within the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, you know, it depends where you are, but you've got to think of how you're going to make something sustainable. Even though you would love it to be free, you know, you still have to run the operations and the costs. In terms of what I'm doing at the moment, obviously, Alex, you had a bit of an inside info.
A little bit of an insight.
Really exciting. So I am starting a mentorship scheme. I have had so many followers on Instagram, friends message me about how do I start or, you know, expand my business. And I just feel like at the moment, there's so much, you know, bullshit that's there. And, you know, these get rich quick schemes, or these like courses that you do, and by the end of the course you don't know what you've learned, but you think you've learned something, and because you paid for it, you want to be able to justify it. So you're like, oh yeah, that was an amazing course, just to make yourself feel better. And I feel like there's so much confusion in how actually to start a business. So it's kind of being able to build a community. You can register for it now. It's sabrinastocker.com/mentorship, and we're going to kind of be inspiring, helping, spoon feeding those who want to start a business within this really, you know, strong community, and get it started, or scaling it up, and just keeping it super simple, going back to basics. Yeah, I'm really excited for that, actually.
So I'm just typing this down so people can go and check out what you're doing now. So sabrinastocker.com / is it mentorship?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to punch that up for everybody. There we go. And then that'll be there also for people to see on the replays and on all the social channels as well.
So that is only going to be, as soon as I launch it on my Instagram, which will be this evening, it's only going to be open for 48 hours for people to apply. I put it on my story a couple of days ago, and I got hundreds of people applying. And, you know, it's great to have hundreds of people in the community, but I want them to be the right people. So that is happening, which is exciting. And then, of course, we are starting our podcast, which I'm not going to disclose too much about it. But if you go to the link, you'll find out if you can apply to the podcast as well.
So that's potentially people that you'd want to have on the podcast as well to chat to, yeah?
Yeah.
Very good. And with regards to like the mentorship, so what kinds of people, businesses are you looking to help?
I think it would be kind of haven't made it to the 6 figures yet. So between the kind of, I have an idea, I want to get it off the ground, I don't know how to get it off the ground, to somebody who, they've got a few people in their team, probably less than 5 people, and want to move it up to the next level. So it's kind of a community. There's a few different things that I'm not going to be mentioning, but it's really, really exciting. But it's going to be a place and a platform where you're able to thrive, you're able to learn, and so I'm quite excited for that. Indeed,
very exciting. I'm always excited when I hear people want to start a brand new podcast as well. So I'm doing a webinar this Thursday, funnily enough, talking about why now is a great opportunity to launch a podcast. Funnily enough, listenership is up 10% globally, 20% in the UK. So the UK clearly got more listeners, or they're doing less with their time, clearly, and listening to my podcast. But yeah, those stats literally just come out in the last couple of weeks, and that's like pre-COVID, post-COVID, and it's literally like that.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you say before you were doing like 2 lives a day on your Instagram, morning and evening? Because I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was doing 8 a.m. 10 a.m. every day, 8 p.m. every day, and I'm going to be starting something again. If you go to the link that Alex has just posted, you can apply to be on this as well. But it's called Coffee with Sabs, and every day I haven't decided if I'm going to do it in the morning, hence the coffee, or if it's going to be espresso martinis during the night. But
like
just a way to, be able to reach out and talk about business and talk about mindset, because I wish I had somebody when I was starting off who was able to mentor me and help me grow to that next level. And I feel like now that I've got into the place that I am, I have these mentors, and I just wish I had one earlier because it's accelerated the way that I've grown. And I do think that you can start a business, you can scale a business without a mentor, but with it massively helps because you're hearing different perspectives and they challenge you, and you're going to get pushed as much as you can. And also, if you look at the market, you've got Grant Cardone, you've got Gary Vee, you've got Ty Lopez. I don't want to be listening to, sorry Alex, like a middle-aged man talking about business. I want somebody who has done it maybe at a younger age, or is going through the process themselves, so that it's relatable content. So yeah, that's kind of the reason why I started it.
So would somebody, for example, like Elena Cardone, who you've had on your Instagram, be more relatable for you?
I think Elena Cardone, for me, she is super relatable. I have a lot of respect for her. I love talking to her on my live. Hopefully she'll come on my podcast as well. But I also think, there's a lot of women in the industry who are women leading women. And I'm like, where's the woman who's giving advice to a guy? Like, there's none. So I feel like it's, that's great. But also Elena is very within the American market, right? And I don't think there's many UK females who are stepping up and giving that mentorship here, even if it's in the mindset coach. And I want to have a little bit of fun. I want to inspire people to be able to take the best of their opportunities. And even if they don't learn anything from me, which I hope they would, but even if they don't, then I bet you there's somebody in that community that they're going to learn off as well. Yeah,
and your guest, like for me, having hosted like my own podcast for 3 years now, it's like being the equivalent of a Harvard MBA for me that costs $250,000 a year. Just being able to interview, the likes of a Richard Reed from Innocent or a Holly Tucker from Not on the High Street, just getting that information. And for me, thinking, my guests are getting this information for free, obviously. But it's interesting that, I was with Virgin Startup for a number of years, and I used to get a lot of questions from people asking about the mentoring. But the barrier to entry with like Virgin Startup was that you had to take out a loan as funding to access the mentor. I always just felt really bad saying to people, I've only got so much time in the day. There's only so many people I can help. And unfortunately, the way, it works, I can help a couple of people in my spare time myself through the, goodness of my own heart, shall we say. But, you can't run your life like that. And for me, it was like everybody, coming to Virgin Startup and going through that system, they had to apply for a loan. And that was just, for a lot of people,
and I'm so
a barrier.
against that as well. Like, I don't think you need money to start a business. Like, I started Shopping Slot with no money, started my tennis events company. The first year I did that, I made 6 figures within the first 6 months. And like, I just started. Like, I didn't need any money to start a business.
No, I agree.
So it depends what business you're doing, but there are so many other inventive ways to start a business. And I was talking to one person last week, and they were like, Sabrina, I want to start this digital marketing agency, and I need to get investment to be able to grow my business. I'm like, honey, you're in digital marketing. Surely you should be growing organically, right? So, it really depends. But I think there is this stigma in society that you need to pay for a course, or you need to go on a course. You definitely don't need to do an MBA. I did an MBA. If you want to start a business, I wouldn't even recommend doing an MBA. Or that you need to get a loan, or etc. Get money of family and friends. But there is so much that you can do before you need to take money out of anywhere.
Yeah, no, I've met so many people who've done that. I think for me, the only ones, there's probably going to be other ones for this, but businesses like you're building a brand new tech platform or whatever, you're going to need investment to scale that. But for most lifestyle based businesses, you don't need any money. You literally just need one of these, or this iPad that I could pick up and show you as well.
Exactly, but it really depends. Again, this is very general advice that I'm giving. It depends on specifically your industry, to whether you do need investment or not.
And are you looking for any particular types of sector that people with regards to business mentorship? Just thought of that one.
I was kind of someone who's kind of an expert at what they do, because they've got to be able to provide value. So you've got to be very, very good at what you do. You can't just wake up one day and say, okay, I want to start a business. It's like, that's what I used to do. I used to say to my mom, I'm going to be a successful businesswoman one day. And she was like, Sabrina, what are you going to run a business in, huh? And it just ended up being tennis, because, I love tennis. But again, I was an expert within that world. I know everyone in that world. I know exactly, I could run my company asleep, because I know it very, very well. So somebody who feels like they have that trait and they want to start, but also somebody who is committed and has got the time to commit, because running a business is not easy. It's not fun. It's hard work. You'll be working more hours than you would in a previous job. Or if you have a current job, then you're going to be working evenings and weekends, and you've got to be able to commit. So it's a bit of a balance of both.
Question that's coming from Henry, who says, what made you set up a company rather than go down the corporate route? Did you get any backlash from any family or friends? Thanks, Henry.
That's a great question. So when I was 19, I was like a straight A-star student, like an absolute, geek in school. I would revise every single evening. And I got into uni, and the same day as results day, I got a phone call from application in the States saying that, I just got 6 months over there to play tennis. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So just to say, to put that into perspective, it was a phone call, no email, no document, no contract, just a phone call. So I deferred my uni place, and I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. And then I was going to go to the States in November, and I had 3 months, the rest of August, September, and October to do things. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I started talking my way into these investment events, and I would, go to somewhere like Angel's Den and say, I was here representing my uncle. Can I come in and sit on your investors board? And I would hear all of these startups pitching, and I was learning what the investors were looking for, and I was learning about what the startups were doing. And that kind of brought me more into the world of, okay, this is all about improvisation. It's all about finding opportunities. It's all about problem solving. this is what I want to do. So it's a mixture of having that exposure at a reasonably early age, plus an experience I had when I was 18. I was 18 years old. My maths teacher had got me an internship at Hermes hedge fund. I wanted to be an investment banker. I was in the office for 3 days and I left. I couldn't stand it. I was like, everyone's so boring. No one's talking to each other. I can't sit still. I hate like having the shit jobs of having to, you know, do risk assessments. Like, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to have to work my early 20s working for somebody else. I want to be doing something I'm passionate about. So it was probably a really bad work experience placement. Not that the company was bad, just I hated having authority. I wanted to do my own thing. Plus it was that exposure of being able to start my own thing up too.
Did you go to the States in the end then or not?
I did 6
I didn't know
months
that.
in
Miami. Did you know? I didn't
I
know
had
that.
such a good time back then.
Yeah. No, I spent 6 months in Connecticut on the East Coast at camp, and I summer of my life, I have to say, absolutely loved it.
Oh, everyone's so friendly in Miami. I went back a couple of years ago and I was just like, yes, I love it out here.
Super cool place. No, agreed. I do like Miami as well. Yeah. Cool. And a question that's come in: how do you keep yourself motivated? And that's from Ryan.
How do I keep myself motivated? Now, I've listened to Tony Robbins since I was 15, so I am completely allowed to say this. But you know, listening to the likes of Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard, etc., all about finding your purpose and your why, like the bigger reason why you're doing something. And for me, it's, you know, I want to be able to inspire others to live the best life they can. But because I have that as my main purpose and I know exactly what I want, then everything I'm doing is getting me to that next place and getting me to the next level. And I'm getting up this morning. I keep waking up at 4 a.m. and I end up going back to sleep. But I wake up at 5, 6 a.m. every day. I love waking up, which is really weird because I cannot say that before I've loved waking up. But I love getting out of bed. I'm excited to do what I want to do for the day. And then I go back to bed feeling like I've, in a way, achieved something that day. So by getting myself into a routine, by focusing on self-development, and by rewarding myself, whichever way that is, when I have achieved something, that's given me, a bit of recognition to achieving my bigger purpose there.
Like it. Very good. Thank you very much. It's probably an easy one for you to answer. How important is press and publicity when you're starting a new business, or is this something that I should not touch?
Which kind of business?
It doesn't say. It's coming through the private question. Garfield says, funny, I used to get up at 4 a.m. We should have a 4 a.m. club. I know there's a 5 a.m. club, isn't there? Yeah.
Well, I was getting up at 4 and I was like, I felt so energized. I felt like I just had a coffee. And I look outside and it's dark and I'm like, I'm going back to bed. But yeah, I tried getting up at 4, but I just see the point of getting up early. I'd be too tired.
It's a bit too early for me as well.
Yeah, so in terms of press and publicity, firstly, I think it really depends on what industry you are. So if you let me know, I can give you a bit more of a specific answer. But in general now, there are so many companies out there. It is really, really hard to grow your company without utilizing your personal brand. And that's why Shopping Slot did so well, because it was this website, like it did exactly, what it's still doing now in a sense, like fundamentals of it, but no one knew about it. So it's like, there's so many companies out there that might be doing an amazing job, or you might have an amazing service, but nobody knows about you. So firstly, it's about, okay, can you get your product or service offering correct? And then it's about getting yourself out there. And I read this statistic, which was startups tend to have a 2 to 5% budget on marketing, smaller startups. But larger companies that have accelerated quickly, their budget is like 50 to 60% of their total spend. So yes, to start up, it's about getting your product offering correct, because once you get the customers in, you want to make sure that they stay. It's always easier to retain customers than it is to find new ones. But once that's there, you've got to just push yourself out there as much as you can. And whether that's utilizing your personal brand through press, through social media, through events, whatever that is, that's your marketing funnel.
Very good. Like it a lot. And when it comes to social media, again, how important has that been with shopping slots? And are you, I mean, I suppose it's a no-brainer. How much are you going to use that with regards to the mentorship?
Sure. So in terms of shopping slot, same as actually my tennis events. Like, let's take Instagram. We'll go with Instagram and Twitter because they're the only two social medias I've been using for shopping slot. Instagram, it doesn't really matter if I have an Instagram or don't have an Instagram. Like, I've got about 250 followers on the account. People aren't going to be following shopping slot because it's got a cool picture of a cabbage or something. They don't care. Whereas Twitter is essential because that's where I reach out to journalists. It's a massive sharing platform. You're able to backlink it to the website. So for shopping slot, Twitter, so important. Instagram, irrelevant, but still good to have because it shows that you're an actual company, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of mentorship, that's massively to do with social media because ultimately, there's lots of different mentorship programs out there. If you Google it, I think that's one of the issues. There's too many that do random different things, and you go onto one website and it says do this for your business, and the other website says do something else. So I think that's all about somebody buying into you and believing in yourself. And like any kind of coaching program, mentorship program, you're only going to get out of it how much you put into it, and what you put into it depends on how much you believe that whatever you do in this program is going to get you to the next level and it's going to make you succeed. So I think for the actual mentorship, social media, yes, massive. For shopping slot, it depends, and that's the same in any business, really.
And also, I was thinking, I won't hog the conversation because we've got other questions that have come in and we're going to run out of time. Typical me, talk far too much, something you'll know all about, Sabrina. What was I going to say? Because also, if you're going to use, for example, hashtags, there's going to be a lot that's going to come up for a word like mentorship, for example, or mentors or mentor. But it's obviously incredibly trackable these days to be able to use stuff like that. Even, I suppose, do you use TikTok? You do, don't you?
I started at the beginning of isolation. I was getting into TikTok. Yes,
I remember that. Yes.
And if you haven't got me on TikTok, follow me because I want to hit 1,000, which is Sabrina Stocker. But I would like to get more into TikTok. I think I will need to utilize it. But again, it's a time management thing. Like my time management right now is making sure that the fundamental aspects of my business are working. Like someone mentioned just now in the press and the PR, until your fundamental aspects in your product are there, there's no point of being over social media because you're promoting something that doesn't exist. Yeah. And until that product actually exists, then that's when you utilize social media. So for the same with, TikTok, I see it as a task. I don't see it as fun. But I'll turn it into fun when I get into that marketing stage. But right now, I'm not quite there. I
always remember I had Ed and Jamie from Candy Kittens on recently, and they were saying that when they launched Candy Kitten Sweets, they didn't actually have any sweets, but they ended up with, I can't remember what it was, 25,000 subscribers or whatever, and they're like, well, we better give them something. So while we actually make the sweets, we'll make some T-shirt. We'll just literally print some T-shirts with a kitten on it and write Candy Kittens under it, and boom, there you go, there's our first product.
That's perfect as well, because when I say going out there and putting yourself out there, that's because Jamie had a brand, right? He was on Made in Chelsea.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah,
he had a brand. He had something there, so he was able to get that following. But he was also doing things beforehand. He was posting all the time on social media. He would have been on TV, so he's going to naturally have that following. Whereas if you're a complete startup and you haven't got the personal brand, then I guess it's a slightly different ball game. It's also about making sure that you don't have to have a product or you don't have to have a service before you launch it, but you want to have a bit of a personal brand before you launch it. So it depends where you are exactly.
Indeed. Right. So last questions, guys. So James says, speaking of a Jamie, we've got James instead. What is the most important thing you learned from being on The Apprentice? If you knew everything you know now about the process, would you still apply again?
So, just firstly, what was the biggest lesson I learned? Is that the
Most
question?
most important thing you learned, yeah.
I learned that business was all about adapting. And prior, I was studying an MBA. I was like, okay, what's all the theory behind running a business? And then when you're on The Apprentice, you have to make money very quickly doing really random things. So actually, business is about adapting, about problem solving, about finding what exactly that need is in the market, and then solving the need. So keeping it super simple. And all of the theories that I'd learned in, my masters, I didn't care. I didn't go back to textbooks and find out what Maslow was thinking. Like, I just, it put things in perspective. So the biggest lesson learned was business is all about problem solving. What was the second question, Alex? Sorry.
Come on, information retention. What's going on around here today? If you knew everything you now know about the process, would you apply again? Got to be a yes, isn't it? Yeah.
I had so much fun. I think I came across well. Would I apply with the same business? I wouldn't. If I wanted the investment, no, it was not the right business at all to go on the show with, because it wasn't scalable in the sense that it could have been. If I wanted to go on purely for PR, yeah, like I love being the tennis girl for The Apprentice. It works well.
Yeah. And actually, from that note, James, we've got, I had Karina Lepore on, who won the last edition of The Apprentice, and she's coming back on because we're doing a specific F&B, like food and drink industry day on June the 4th, which I think is a Thursday, actually, like a whole day. We've got everybody from Lord Billamoria from Cobra Beer to Al Barrett from Grenade through to Karina from Dough Bakehouse.
I love that.
Yeah, so I thought we'd try to do an industry specific one. You're welcome, and thanks Garfield for posting up as well. So he's about his 4 a.m. club. He reads for about an hour, checks his emails. 7 a.m. I'm up the hill for my daily walk. That's about like
so
Sabrina.
Funny. I was literally creating a morning routine. It takes up a lot of time, You've got to really love doing it. It's just like a massive chore list.
It is, but I mean, yeah, I'm up at 6 and I'm about 8:15. I'm at my desk then. But yeah, my morning routine is about 2.25 hours, which does include, breakfast, but it also includes like, yoga, mindfulness, etc. But I always screw up with my evening routine because I just run out of day. Run out of day to fit my evening routine in. But I think it's nice to be able to bookend your day in amongst all the craziness that gets thrown at everybody. Cool. Well, listen, as always, I've talked far too much. So just to wrap up, I'm going to come back to that link and see if I can repost it. There we go. There we go. Copy link. Okay, paste. There we go. Any last closing statements from you, Sabrina? What would you like to finish on that you're, like you say, you're working on? Have you got a Instagram live that people like James, Henry, Garfield can jump on and watch? You're going to be talking more about your mentorship or more about shopping slots or stuff?
Yeah, no, I'd say anyone who's, wanting to start a business in the idea stage or kind of has a company and want to scale it up, check out the mentorship. It's got loads of different things. One is the coffee with Sabrina. We go onto a kind of onto an Instagram live and we dive into your business. Others the podcast, which is very exciting because I'm producing it with Alex, and I'm excited for that. And then also the community group, so kind of connecting like-minded people. So if you want to get involved, please check it out. The best place to find me on social media is on Instagram, Sabrina Stocker, or Twitter, which is Sabs_Stocker.
Cool. Yeah, I think, especially at times like this, pandemic, etc., people, you can see it with all the different challenges that are being posted on social media. People are looking to buy into that kind of sense of community. And the fact, one of the biggest takeaways for me has been, like reaching out to old friends and family, and how many Zooms have there been? I mean, it's just insane, isn't it? And FaceTimes, all that kind of stuff. I think people are looking for community. People are looking to meet like-minded people and exchange information and ideas. So probably a very good time to be doing that. So thank you all very much indeed for watching this today. Back again with you tomorrow from 10 a.m. onwards. We have got a whole library now, 90 odd live webinars as well that you can go back and look into from the replays. And yeah, thank you very much for being part of this journey. And if you do want to find out more about Sabrina is getting up to amongst all those bits and pieces, then I've posted it up here, sabrinastocker.com/mentorship. Thank you once again for being on. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me, Alex.
You are always welcome. And I will catch up with you on the other side.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.